Hey guys, thanks for visiting Almapura Awakenings today. I wanted to take a minute and just share something that I've been experiencing the last couple weeks through some of my clients and the sessions that I've been having. So I've noticed a little bit of a theme kind of across the board that people are finding it really, really difficult lately to live up to the expectations of the people in their life. So that results in them feeling not good enough to be with their partner, or not a good enough child or a good enough sibling or friend. And it turns into a lot of negative self-talk because we don't know what we're doing wrong in a relationship, and we don't know why we're not being fulfilled, and we don't know why the other person is claiming that we aren't fulfilling them, whoever that may be. That could be a parent child relationship, a best friend relationship. It could even be an acquaintance relationship. It can be a marriage. It can be deep relationships. And typically, what I've been noticing is more connected to the deeper relationships because we don't really um, take the kind of effort toward acquaintances in our life, nor do we expect a lot from acquaintances in our life. So, since I've been noticing that, I have decided to share that information with you guys because I think it's really important that um, we take some of that insecurity that we're feeling in other relationships and we turn it around and start to love ourselves out of those insecurities, and to recognize that we are enough, we are good enough, and we are doing the best that we can because everybody's doing the best that they can. And so if you're finding that your relationships are feeling stressed over the holiday season, it's because we learn how to cope in our relationships, and we learn how to accept the things that we cannot change, right? And so when holidays come or when any big situations happen, there isn't an additional coping mechanism to help us get through the more difficult or stressful times. And so I think that when that happens and relationships really start to struggle, it's important to take some kind of action on those. And so the action that I suggest taking is, for example, and my older daughter and I kind of went through a little bit of an exercise to flush all this out and just make sure that what I'm sharing today is kind of what we came up with. But I think it's important if you, let's say you have a parent child relationship that you're struggling with, then you would say, okay, that's me as a mom, right? So maybe my child thinks that I'm not living up to the expectations of what they wanted as a parent. And I'm feeling a little inadequate about that, that I'm not fulfilling my children in the way that I need to fulfill them. So, and I did have a struggle with this across many relationships about 35 years ago or so. And what I did, and what I want to share with you, is that I sat down and I wrote down the role that I play in every relationship. So I'm a mom, I am a sister, I am a daughter, I am a friend, I am an employee, a coworker, I am also a spiritualist, and I do sessions. So those are all the roles that I play in my life. And in each of those roles, somebody may be happy with me and somebody may not be happy with me. And maybe I'm walking around thinking I'm doing the greatest thing I possibly can and really trying to be the best person I can in all of those different roles and areas of my life. So, what I did was I wrote down a list of things that I thought made up a good mom. So, on my list were things like, um, educate your children, be compassionate with your children, don't pick anybody over your children, don't pick anything over your children, um, make your children feel like home is a really good place to be, make sure that they are healthy and that you feed them and you teach them how to survive in the world. And those were the items that were on my list. The items on my list, I made a lot of lists. I made a list that said, what do I believe is a good wife? What do I believe is a good spiritualist? What do I believe is a good daughter, a good sister, et cetera, et cetera? So I had all these lists kind of laying all over my kitchen table. And I went to the different people in my life, and I compared my lists to other people's lists. I also compared my list to like psychology lists and religion lists. And there were most of the things on those lists, like feed your child, love your child, educate your child, keep your child clean, teach your child how to live in society, discipline your child. Like all of the things that were on my list were also on a lot of the lists that I saw. But what I saw on my list were a few things that weren't on other people's lists or other religious lists or child psychology lists. And I noticed that. I thought that was a little bit weird. Like, these things are on my list, but they're not on some of the other lists that I saw. And that was across the board for all of the roles that I play in my life and all of the expectations that are placed upon me in those roles and all of the expectations and responsibilities that I place on myself in those roles. What I found was super interesting is that, we can't please everybody all of the time. And it's difficult if one child expects me to be a certain way and another child expects me to be another way, and the husband expects me this way and the sisters expect me to be this way, and then I'm like running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to prove that I'm a good person or a good mom or a good wife or a good friend in all of these roles. And I find that I take that information from the person that I am in a relationship with. So if my daughter thinks I'm not a good mom, oh my gosh, it breaks me. If my husband thinks I'm not a good wife, oh my gosh, it breaks me. If one of my clients doesn't like their session, oh my gosh, I feel awful. And so that like puts a lot of pressure on the individual, on me or on you, if you're the one writing up your list of what you believe is a good mom, teacher, etc. One of the things that I want to clarify here is that because we can't please everybody all of the time, the only alternative is for us to please ourselves. So it's impossible for me to live up to the expectation of every single person in my life, because what if people have different expectations of me or different things that I'm not even aware that is an expectation of me? So, how do I keep my sanity about me, and how do I still love myself and feel good about myself if the people in my life are telling me I'm awful or I'm not living up to them? So, the first step is create your own list of what you think is a good parent, a good mother, a good father, a good friend, a good husband, a good wife, for all of the roles you play. And then ask yourself, go through each of those items and ask yourself, do you live up to your own expectation of what you think a good mom is? Do you live up to what your own expectation is? Do you cover all the items on your list when you say, oh, I'm a good mom? Really? What's on your list? Did you cover them all? Because I had that challenge when Marissa was a little girl. And, I mentioned a little bit earlier that one of the things on my list is I won't pick anything over my children. But it was 9 o'clock. She was 5. She had to go to bed. Kindergarten was the next morning. And so I tucked her in and I gave her a little kiss and I put the blanket on her and I started to walk out of the room. And she says, Mama, will you rub my back? And I said, well, no, because it's 9 o'clock and it is bedtime. Now we can say that that was me living up to my list of making sure my children are healthy and that they can function in the world and helping them adapt to society. And I can tell you that. But when I thought about my list, I had to be really truthful with myself. And the reason I didn't stay to rubber back is because CSI Miami was on and I wanted to watch it. And it was the season finale. And shame on me, because when I went back over my list and I realized that I actually did pick a TV show over my 5-year-old daughter who wanted me to rub her back, it broke me. And that's where I realized that the only opinion that matters, because she didn't care. She didn't think anything of it. She didn't say anything about it. She didn't get upset. She didn't cry. She said, okay, mommy. I gave her a hug. I went down. She went to sleep and everything was fine. But when I went through this lesson with myself, like what I said, okay, so it's about 22 years ago that I went through this lesson with myself and wrote out my list. And I realized that the break, when we start to get down on ourselves, when we start to judge ourselves, or when the people in our life start to judge us, that the actual break inside of us is because we didn't live up to our own list. And if we don't even have a list, then we're going to run around like a chicken with our head cut off, trying to please everybody in every relationship and in every role that we play. But if we have a list and we live up to our list authentically, and we're really truthful and honest with ourselves, if we live up to that list, then you'll find that the majority of the time, the relationships you participate in are working just fine. And if they're not, and there's still an issue, and you know that you're living up to the list that you defined for yourself about what a good wife or a good husband or a good friend is, then that would be the moment that you ask your partner in that relationship, your child, your parent, your friend, and you ask them, what's on your list? Because here's the list of everything I think is a good friend. And now I need to know what's on your list because there might be things on your list that you define as a good friend that is not on my list. So if I think I'm being a great friend to you, mm, I may be according to my standard, but I may not be helping you get through your list of what a good friend is. And so I did this exercise with Britt the other night, and if maybe I'll post the conversation we did. Zoom the conversation because we didn't think it was going to go as deep as it went and how far it went, but it really did. It was very eye opening. And I started to tell her about this list thing that she knew about her whole life. And I said, well, what's on your list, honey? And she gave me an item that was not on my list, you know? And I realized that there were some times in her childhood that I didn't even think about putting that on my list. You know, I've always been a survivor. And she says, Mom, you taught me how to be a survivor, but you didn't give me a lot of space to feel my feelings. Oh my God. It broke my heart that I had this list. Here I am thinking I'm this great mom. And you know, the kids, they tell me, oh, you're a great mom and everything. But when I really started to talk about this topic with my daughter and I asked her, like, what's on your list? And she said that to me. I thought, oh my God. First of all, I'm so sorry to my daughter about that. And I did apologize. But what it showed me is I need to add another item to my list because I agree with that item on her list of what's a good mom. Um, I was too busy being a survivor to take time to feel my own feelings, let alone teach my daughter or provide her the space to feel some of her feelings. I was just saying, let's be tough. Let's keep going. Let's go, go, go. And we can make it through this hard time in our life. And that's the part that ends up being the compromise in the relationship or that's where the effort in the relationship is because I hold myself accountable to living up to my list. And if I do, for the most part, people in my life are going to be happy in a relationship with me. But if there is some struggle there, that means that they might have a different item on my list, on their list. So, am I capable of helping my daughter with that item on her list? 100% I am. And if I love her, I'm absolutely going to live up to my list and recognize that there's this one item on her list that feels really important to her. And my effort in the relationship is to add that item to my list in the relationship with her. Now, Marissa's a little bit different. Marissa's a little bit more of a survivor. So when I am communicating with Marissa, that might not be on Marissa's list because Marissa doesn't like to feel her feelings. Marissa kind of likes to get up and keep going and worry about the feelings later. If you fix it, maybe the feeling will go away. And she doesn't like to spend a whole lot of time on her emotions. So if I provide, hey, do you want to spend time on your emotions? She's probably going to say no because Brittany's list and Marissa's list might be different. But I'm one mom with two kids. I have my own list. I live up to that list. But what are my kids? What's on their list? And do I live up to that list? So my suggestion is a really good holiday exercise is maybe sit with the people that you love. All of you write out a list for the roles that you play. Share your list. See what's on your list that's not on somebody else's list. Check it twice. And Merry Christmas. And this is a really good way to come closer to the people that you love and the people that you want to love you. I wish you guys a very Merry Christmas. I wish you happy holidays, and thanks for watching.